welcome back to Self-Published. Today we're going to be talking about editing. There's so many different types of editing, and so I'm going to take some time to talk about a few of them. The first and most important form of editing is self-editing. This is when the author edits their own manuscript, okay? And so what does that look like? For me, sometimes when you start to write a book, you may not know exactly what the book is going to be about. You may not exactly know who the characters are or what they're going to experience. Maybe you just have this idea for these characters. They're talking to you in your head, and so you're putting them down on paper. For me, I have gotten to the middle of a book before I understood, oh, this is what this book is about. This is who these characters are. This is the story that I'm telling. And so if you experience something like that where you don't really know what the book is about, you're just kind of writing and just letting the characters lead you. When you get to the point where you understand what the book is about, you need to go back to the beginning and do self-edit so that you can make sure that everything is in alignment, everything is flowing together. So now that you know, okay, this book is about what this guy meeting this girl, and he has this crazy past and he has secrets that he needs to tell her. Now you can go back to the beginning and plant those little seeds and say little stuff that kind of has the readers kind of guessing like, oh, what's going on, and them kind of knowing that secrets are going to be revealed and stuff like that. So that's a part of self-editing. For me, like I said, in that situation, when I got halfway through, I went back and did edits to make sure that everything was in alignment, so that when I got to the middle, everything was in alignment. And then I wrote the rest of the book, and then I still did self-edits for the middle to the end, so that I can make sure that everything flowed into the ending, and whatever needs to be revealed, and whatever coming down off the climax and everything ending. And then read the whole thing in full, so that you can, again, you're checking for consistency, you're checking for the plot, making sure the plot makes sense, making sure that you drop little jewels and have little things throughout that keep the reader's interest peaked and keep them questioning, okay, kind of what's happening and things like that. So that's self-editing, where you go in your own work and you make sure that it's consistent, that the storyline makes sense, that the characters that the character story makes sense, that the character development is on point. Obviously, you're going to make sure that you have your quotation marks and commas and periods and things like that. That's actually, for me, my first draft is like a dirty draft. I may do 5,000 words where I'm not worried about punctuation. I'm not worried about quotation marks and names. I'm just kind of getting the dialogue out. And then I go back and I express, but I don't do the whole book like that, because that would be too much editing, too time consuming. I normally do about 5,000 words, and then I go back and I add the narrative and add the explanations and add the commas and the periods and things like that. Okay, so that's self-editing. And then there is developmental editing. This focuses on like the story plot, making sure that it's clear and concise, and that it makes sense, and that it flows, making sure that the characters are fully developed. And because as an author, you know who your characters are, right? Because they're inside of your head. But when you have to describe that on paper, sometimes it can get kind of tricky. And maybe when you're putting it on paper, you're not explaining it well enough to where the readers understand who this character is. So a developmental editor will go in and check the character development and make sure that what you have in your head about who this character is and why they are the way they are transfers to paper or to your computer, and it makes sense there as well, and so that the readers know who this person is too. Because if you have your idea of who this person is in your head, but you're not expressing that they're loving or they're kind or they're sarcastic or whatever the case may be, then the reader is not going to understand this character. And so it's going to seem out of place. Certain things that they do are going to seem out of place. It's going to seem stupid. It's going to be like, hey, why is this happening? What is this? You know what I'm saying? But a developmental editor can make sure that everything is flowing correctly, that we understand who the character is, we understand the plot, and they'll let you know, okay, maybe you need to expound on this a little bit more. This seems out of the blue. This seems random. How did you get here? Because like I said, the book is already in your head, so you understand the different steps and the next thing that needs to happen, but you have to make sure that you are also explaining that on the paper as well. So that's developmental editing. They're going to help you to make sure that your characters are solid, that your storyline is solid, that everything flows and makes sense. Then there's the line editor. The line editor is going to be concerned with your sentence structure, and how each sentence works together to create the paragraph. Because sometimes you'll just have a random sentence, like you might be talking about one thing, and in your mind you know that you need to mention a certain thing, so that you add that in, but it's just random. I'm trying to give an example of that. Like you might be talking about describing somebody's house. You know, they just walked in somebody's house and you're describing their house, and then in the middle of describing their house you say something about the character that it's just off. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't go there. It you know what I'm saying? And so a line editor is going to make sure that each sentence flows into the next one, creating the rhythm of the paragraph. And that's going to help with flow, because you want to make sure that your book is easy to read and that readers are not reading it like, okay, what, how did I get here? What is this random sentence? What is this random thing? Like, why is, even a random paragraph? You want to make sure everything flows into each other, and a line editor helps to do that. And then there is the copy editor, who is going to be doing the grammar, punctuation, spelling, making sure all of those important aspects are taken care of. So a copy editor is very important. To be honest, all of them are very important. You may want to try to find somebody who does all of those things, because then you only have to have one editor. And then obviously you want to, after you get your book edited and you go back and you make the changes, you want to also have a proofreader. A proofreader is who you send the book to when the book is done. You've written it, you had it edited, and now they're reading just to catch any last minute mistakes. This is just them going back and making sure making sure maybe you missed a period here, maybe you said the wrong name here, maybe you you spelled a word wrong here. It is the step before you publish your book. They're making sure that the book is formatted correctly, that and just double checking last minute mistakes. That's what a proofreader does. Again, a copy editor does the grammar, punctuation, making sure all of that is correct. A line editor is going to be checking the sentences, making sure there's a flow of the sentence, making sure there's a rhythm of the paragraph, a rhythm of the book. A developmental editor is going to help you with making sure that you're consistent throughout the book. The characters are developed, the story is developed, everything makes sense. It's not huge leaps and jumps and how do we get here? And then you're going to do your own self-edits, and that's going to be the first step. Thank you for watching Self-Published. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.